everybody, Tony D with some screenwriting tips. I had another comment. Oh gosh, I forget the commenter's name, but thank you for it. Something like, can I hire a screenwriter and just give him the finer points of the screenplay that I want? Well, as I said in the comment, and I'd like to elaborate a little further, and I've made videos on this before, hiring a screenwriter. There are no really hard and fast rules to hiring a screenwriter. They're just good things to do. The first thing you have to do, and I said this in the other video, is figure out the money. Okay? Now, a screenwriter should get approximately 2% of the final budget. So if the movie costs, say, $100,000 to produce, a screenwriter should get $2,000 to do the screenplay. If it's $1 million, it should be like 20 grand. And on and on and on. And there's usually a percentage involved. It's usually like 2%. 2%, which ends up being 2% of what the producer makes. That's points that most screenwriters, they're unlikely to see that money unless they're in Hollywood and it's a big deal. These days, Hollywood's on the ropes. Theaters, movie theaters on the ropes. I think they'll come back in some way, but not like they were. It's all going to be Netflix and movies for your phone and whatnot. The medium's changing, so you should be aware of that. But if you want to make a movie, and believe me, there's plenty of places that are dying for content, the first thing you need is a good screenplay. And the second thing you need to do is figure out how much money you really have for a screenwriter. So a lot of times what guys will do is they will give the screenwriter at least some money, and so they can live and write a damn screenplay, and it's worth it for them to do it, and then promise them more money once the movie is financed. Now that tends to like snowball out of the screenwriter's control a little bit, because then they finance the movie and the director demands another screenwriter come on board, and then some of your screenplay wasn't used, so you're really not going to get all the money you expected to get, and yada, 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 yada. Now, you can do what you want in that area. You could guarantee that screenwriter his money, and then when you finance the movie, they might turn to you and go, well, take it out of your share, buddy. You're the producer. But, you know, you have to make up your own mind how you're going to finance this thing. Some screenwriters are happy to sell you their screenplay for, I don't know, $2,000, $5,000, whatever. That's not a bad price, really, you know, for a flat rate up front, if you can afford it all. $2,000 to $5,000, something like that. I mean, that's a good price. I'd certainly do your screenplay for that kind of money. But you got to understand it's about time, right? It's about time. You know, you give me $2,000, I can easily spend a good month or two probably on your screenplay. $5,000, definitely 2 months, maybe 3. It's all about, you know, the money you're going to have at the end of the job. You know, if you have to blow all the money just to live, it's kind of like, well, I got 2 months of living out of it, but I had to quit my job and give up all my other jobs just to do your screenplay. What you want, ideally, as screenwriters, you want to be able to make enough money so when you walk away, you not only live for a month or two, you also have some money left over. And that's a win. So, you know, when you expect to hire a screenwriter to write based on your synopsis, you have to have an expectation of their input. In other words, they're going to put their spin on things. So it might not be exactly how you envision it in your head. If you want it exactly how you envision it in your head, learn screenwriting and do it yourself. Understand other people are going to try to do their takes on it. Now, you, of course, don't want a guy who's going to go so far out of left field, but he might go so far out of left field it might be a better idea that way. Depends on the client, depends on you, it depends on what you want and how you articulate that. Some clients I work with, most clients I work with, are very willing to trust me, and you know, when they see the final product, they'll say something, well, I wasn't expecting that, but wow, I like that. I like that a lot. You know, and you got my elements in there, so it's all good. You got to keep it a little loose for the screenwriter. because there is going to be some flexibility. There may be some things that have to change simply because of the structure. And screenwriters are all about structure. There has to be a good structure so the movie can get made and hang on that structure. A good structure is everything in a screenplay. Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. If you only got 2 acts, it ain't gonna work. Ain't gonna work. So, when you hire the screenwriter, have your money ready, have a budget ready, have a plan ready, have a contract, or at least an idea of one, and how you're going to proceed from there. Understand, you may hire the wrong screenwriter. He might be good. He might do a draft of the screenplay that, from your perspective, is not what you want, but it might be good. And then you're going to have to decide, well, do I want to sell a screenplay for a movie I don't like, but is probably good? Understand, too, that you may show that screenplay to someone and they go, oh, this sucks. This sucks. You love it, and he says it sucks. And then you go, wow, did I waste my money? Then you might show it to somebody else and you're unsure about it, and he goes, oh, this is the greatest thing I've ever read. Art is subjective. So it's very tough. It's very tough. And you have to be able to kind of read a screenplay, and screenplays are tough to read. What you really need to do when you read a screenplay is picture the movie in your head. It's the only way to really read it. You can't read it like a book. You have to read it like a movie. So you got to see the setting in your head. You got to picture the actors. You got to picture them delivering the lines, and then go from there. It's got to be a movie in your head. That's the way I see everything, because I'm a movie guy. Even my books, I see them as movies and TV shows. I see the things happening, and then I write what I see in my head. That's what you need to do when you read it. And hopefully you get something you like. Now, if you get something you like, don't let other people tell you it sucks. I mean, you don't want to shut yourself out to input, but you also don't want to open yourself to everybody in the world, because everybody in the world has a different opinion. I cannot tell you how many clients I've worked with. They just can't make a decision. It's part of the reason they're not writers. Writers make creative decisions for their clients. So they ask people over and over again, is this good? Is that good? No, this is better. This is better. No, another writer. I'm another writer. This is better. This is funnier. No, let me do it. Everybody will tell you something different because they want a little money out of you, or they want attention, or whatever they want. So I've written stuff for clients only to have them go, God, you wrote the screenplay, but I had to have it completely changed. Well, duh. Because you're an indecisive client who, the moment I stop talking to you, you let somebody else talk you into a different story or a different version of the same story. Stick with a version of the story. If you got something you like, stick with it. Understand that over time, it's not going to fly off the page and grab you by the throat like it did the first time you read it. Okay? After a while, you'll get tired of it because you read it over and over. That's what happens when you work on a movie. You get sick of it. You know, when I work on comics, same thing. You work on comic after comic after comic, and after a while, oh, I'm just so sick of this, I need a break. But that's part of the business I'm in. So I understand that I need a break and can come back to it with fresh eyes and still come back to it. You know, I understood that writing for The Simpsons, after a while, would get boring or tiring, and I'd have to take a break and then go back and do it again. That happens. Clients aren't used to that process. They think the moment they get bored, oh no, something's wrong with the screenplay. No, I don't like it for some reason. There must be something wrong. Let me make a bunch of major changes. No. Once you get something that's good, you got to stick with it. The hard thing is figuring out what's good. A guy like me can tell you what's good. But I have my own internal biases. What I think is good may not jive with what you think is good. I think the Godfather movies are good. Do you? I mean, that's why a lot of people, when they go to write a screenplay or make a movie, they start rattling off all the movies they love, and they want to make sure you love the same ones. Because if you don't, then they don't want to work with you. That's a strategy. I wouldn't go with it because a lot of times it gets a little too specific. You know, if you've got a lot of specific kinds of movies, yeah, you got to account for a lot of variables in there. Just because I've never written a movie like Memento doesn't mean I can't write one, because I'm a skilled screenwriter. But, I mean, you do have a point if you're just in love with the movie Memento, Memento, and you want to do your own version of it, and you need someone who just loves that movie too. I get it. So, there's really no rules in this. But, you want to manage the expectations of the writer and you. And writers, just like any artist, are volatile people. And a lot of times producers are too. So understand going into the process that it's a process in which you need contracts in order to designate when your business relationship begins and ends. Because after a month of working on your project at, say, $2,000, and I deliver a draft which I say is complete, I want more money if you want me to spend another month on it. And that should be outlined in a contract. And you should understand that if you get to that point and say, this isn't the screenplay I want, but it is a finished screenplay, and it is good, I sense, but I don't want to pay you, I understand, and you'll go to another screenwriter and maybe he'll give you the screenplay you want. It's kind of like picking a therapist. Not every therapist is going to be right for you. Same thing with a screenwriter. They're there to make decisions. And there are a lot of bad ones, unlike therapists, although I'm not really a big therapy guy, so maybe there are a lot of terrible therapists, I'm not sure. But I know there's a lot of terrible screenwriters. So, it's really a tough thing. You gotta kind of just hope for the best. And once you get a screenplay, understand that it's likely it's going to be changed once you get it financed and get a director anyway. So as long as you can live with it and you see it as a professional, well-done screenplay, that's what you should start shopping around. Also, the screenwriter's credits can often be very helpful. That's a big deal. But of course, the more credits they have, the more money they're going to want. That's part of their appeal, all those credits, right? So, I think your plan of sort of outlining what you want and hiring a screenwriter could work. My suggestion is, too, once your screenwriter writes, say, the first 10 pages, you should take it, look at it, really read it, be satisfied with it or not, and then go back to him and give him feedback. Don't let him get too far into the screenplay before you give him some of that initial feedback. Now, once you're sure you're kind of on the same page, then maybe let him go through the first act. But also understand, too, that a lot of times you get to the second and then third acts, and then you go back and you change stuff based on what you got to, right? So I may not realize what I'm going to totally have at the end of the third act, so I wait until I get to the end and then go back and pepper in foreshadowing throughout the screenplay now that I know how it's really going to end. So, but as long as it's in general kind of like what you like, I say go with it. If it's really off the mark, like I hand you the first 10 pages and you just go, oh man, this is not what I want at all. I wanted a light comedy, and you killed 40 people on the second page. Well, then maybe you got to stop the process right there and say, look, keep the upfront money. I'm going to go with somebody else. That's possible too. As long as everybody gets paid for their time, everything should be copacetic. And hopefully, if you work together with your screenwriter at each step, you'll get what you want. He'll get what he wants. He wants money. Money first, credit second. And hopefully you'll come up with a good screenplay that you can pitch and hopefully get financed. I suggest low budget stuff. Low. Stuff that anybody could shoot. And I've covered that in other videos. So I wish you luck, commenter whose name I forgot already. Good luck on your screenplay. I hope you hire someone. I'm available for hire, of course. you can find my email in the About section. And if you want to see some of my work, check out Wokistan, a novel, at Amazon.com. Also, the Pineys books 1, 2, 3, and 4, ebook, trade paperback, Kindle Unlimited is free. And I will see you next time.